Liz, your inability to hear predates us recording a podcast.
I believe you.
Better believe it, it's true. What's with this head swing thing you're doing? How stoned are you right now?
I'm honestly just trying to out-wiggle my migraine right now.
You don't have a migraine.
Okay,
You
headache.
keep telling yourself
Whatever.
that.
Okay, fine. I don't have
It's
migraine.
psychology.
Headache. Whatever.
Welcome to Sounds Like Liberty, folks. This is episode number 48 with the Launchpad Media. I am your host, Nikki P, here with my lovely wife and co-host, Lizzie. How are we doing today, Lizzie?
We're doing all right.
How all right are we doing?
All right?
I'm totally leaving that part that we did over the intro there. So they're going to know you're not doing all right and that you have a migraine. You're lying for the sake of their...
Well, no, it's probably not a migraine.
Bless their
it's
hearts.
probably just a headache, but, it's whatever. It's not a major problem.
No? What's a major problem?
The major problem is like armies marching on your home.
Oh.
Yeah.
So are you trying to, segue us into something?
It's entirely possible.
Did I do the Launchpad Media thing?
You did mention that this is our 48th episode with the Launchpad Media.
Always launching ideas in their direction.
Yeah, you might not have mentioned that bit yet.
I feel like it's gone away, and I don't want it to go away. That's my favorite part about saying it. Always launching ideas in your direction,
Right on.
or always launching ideas in your direction.
Who's those the different DJ voices?
Always launching ideas in your direction.
I don't even know what to do with that one.
That's Morning Zoo.
Oh, right on, right on.
That's a guy named the Shriek or the Scream or
Okay.
Loud Stan.
Loud Stan. I can dig it.
You should do the entire episode as Loud Stan.
Thank you. No.
All right.
Okay.
We can do it that way or not. I'm just saying.
What's coming up first here?
All right, we're going to take a look at a song by one of my favorite bands.
Yes.
This is Blueprint of the Fall by Strung Out.
Indeed.
There's always some contention as to this, so let's dive right in and see what we got.
Imagine a place where freedom's just a word on the wall,
God damn right.
surrounded by the wreckage of towers that could never fall. The company will avenge.
Okay, is he referring to the government as the company and kind of insinuating that there is an incestual marriage between corporatocracy and our government?
You could definitely argue
maybe
that.
Raytheon and Halliburton and all those companies make money off of our government and they're huge lobbyists.
And the giant wars that the people in government just keep.
I find it funny. So, let's look at this. That, libertarians get so lambasted for, oh, you guys just want the billionaires to run everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, I'm probably one of the biggest proponents of breaking companies up naturally. I don't think they can be as big as they are without the government helping them.
Yeah.
So, we want the same things. You're just an idiot. Anyways, let's keep going here. Imagine the lies like bombs, turn the shock and awe. For justice in time and a land for justice never was won. Beef. So rule them all along the Potomac and west toward the sea. Through the ghettos past the monuments we all built to house the weak. It's the blueprint to the fall of our place in history. The end to what we all believed to be the hope to save this place. And I walk along the flagstones through the graves. An apocalypse is blooming in the sage.
So, yeah, what do you think he's talking about in that?
It's got a lot of imagery there.
Verse.
This came out right after 9/11, within the year, I believe. So, let's see here. Well, he's definitely talking about, imagine the lies like bombs turn the shock in the eye. He's clearly talking about the bullshit about WMDs that weren't real and became us bombing the fuck out of people in the most atrociously visible ways in the world.
Yeah. It makes sense.
He's definitely, for justice in time and land for justice was never the one thief. He's definitely pointing out the fact that there is no justice here. Like what we're doing is just wrong. To rule them all along the Potomac and west toward the sea, through the ghettos, past the monuments we all built to house the weak. Well, I know that Jason's pretty fucking lefty. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that he even realizes what he's saying here. Like, you're talking about the ghettos you built to house the weak. You're not noticing a correlation between those two things. What do you think? You're being pretty quiet.
Are the ghettos to house the weak, or are the monuments to house the weak? I thought he was saying that you have these people, in the kind of DC places that are using all of these big buildings to cloister themselves away from everybody else because they just want to, say some words and have some power go out there without them. Let them be safe behind the walls of some building.
Maybe. See, I read it as he's talking about these shitty places that are now being gentrified. Good Lord, if that had been a thing back in 2002.
I suppose.
Regardless, you move past that, and he's just showing this is how you would lay out the end of our supremacy. And I think Ron Paul would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can see that this is the bullshit that is going to be our undoing.
Yeah. And how do you expect to...
And there's a certain amount of... I like this line, the end to what we all believed to be the hope to save this place.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that's the realization that the harder we try to get government to force help, the worse off it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something I find interesting, and I don't know that Jace would agree with that, but I think it's one of those subconscious things, like you don't realize what you're saying.
Well, I mean, or you could read it a few different ways. I was reading it a different way, but yeah.
So let's go finish this up here.
Dead presidents lined coffin text in biblical unrest. The blind pride home genocide and the secret wars we all missed. It's the blueprint to the fall of the entire human race. The end to what we all believed would be the hope to save this place. And I walk among the flagstones to the grave.
So much about that I love.
Yeah.
All right. So dead presidents lined the coffin text in biblical unrest. So he's definitely talking about this whole war is about money.
Yeah.
And all of those coffins are filled with money for someone.
Yeah.
The bullets, the fucking buildings. That's literally this whole thing. And we use the church and use religion to justify what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The blind pride home genocide. Oh my god. This is NPC before there was NPC. That's exactly what he's calling out. All these fucking right-wing conservatives. Well, we gotta go over and kill them there sand niggers, cause get him over that country, they're gonna kill us all.
Mm-hmm.
The secret wars we all missed. That part right there I fucking love, cause it's legit calling out nothing that happened at 9/11 should have been something that we didn't see coming.
Right. Because we've been
we're over there not paying attention to the fact that we've been waging war in these countries with
years.
coups since the fucking 50s at the very least, and I think it goes further back than that. Wink wink at Iran. That's still going on. They're still trying to get that country to go to war with us. And he changed it up from the blueprint of the fall to our place in history to the blueprint of the fall of the entire human race, because I think there is the very realistic fact that we could all die when that button gets pressed.
Yeah. And it's not just, is America going to be the winner or the loser, quote unquote, anymore. It's, everything's tied, like the money's all tied together. The wars are all tied together. It's all very global. And maybe it always was, but now people are really realizing.
If you not gotten into Agenda 21 by the UN?
Yeah. It's one of those things that you read about, and then you just, how do you process that? How do you even go on living your life with that information?
I don't think you do. Suicide pact. All right. So, where do we want to leave this one today? What do you think?
Yeah, I could give that an Eric July. I mean, it's not really a hopeful picture, but it certainly is a.
It calls out a lot of the bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that technically, it's probably more. He's coming from the lefty angle, but if there's nothing else, we do see eye to eye with the lefties on the war thing.
And there is some hope if we could actually just, work towards stopping that, because we can agree on that, and then deal with all the other crap afterwards. I feel like we'd be a lot farther along.
Do you know? Right on. Well, I'll go there July on that one too. I bet Sherry Voluntary would argue with me.
Yeah.
She likes to argue with me about Strung Out.
Well, I think it's awesome to have people who argue with you, because you get different viewpoints.
Liz, everyone argues with me because I have different viewpoints.
Yeah, true.
Anyways, let's move right along. Welcome to I Heard This Happen, the segment for aging hipsters. Each week we scour Bandcamp for underground new releases to wow your teenage children. So without further ado, here's new music. So, what do you got for me today in I Heard This Happen?
So I have a record that I've been kind of waiting for it to drop for the past, month and a half, because I came across the single, back then in March-ish, and I really liked it. And so I wanted to hear the rest of the record. So it finally did drop on the 10th, and it is called Morning Thoughts. The artist is Agent, I think it's
How do you spell morning?
Morning as in the morning. I was thinking morning like morning at crying kind of thing, but that is not the spelling that they use.
Wait, you cry when you mourn?
So,
what kind of weird emotions do you have?
it depends.
Look, I only cry during Coco. And what's that other movie?
Muppets. Muppets have.
Oh, no, I have cried during the Muppets, too. No, there's that other one that Disney made.
Oh, jeez.
The one about the feelings.
Oh, Inside Out. Gosh. Yeah. Niagara Falls during that movie. Goodness.
Pretty hard not to cry during that movie. That thing is poison. Absolutely poison. So.
But it's an indie record, and honestly, it made me think of the Cranberries, and I'm not sure what about it reminded me of the Cranberries.
You don't remind me of the Cranberries.
I think it was just sort of the spirit of the thing, because the guitars are more of a like a classic sound. They remind me of kind of that surf rock sound, even though what they're playing is very indie. The vocals kind of sound like Pat Benatar from the Pretenders. Not Pat Benatar. Good Lord. No, yeah, it is
Chrissy Hine.
Chrissy Hine, thank you, from the Pretenders.
How dare you?
If you were throwing...
I'm on a divorce right now.
I'm so sorry.
Fucking better me.
If you were gonna throw her through a Dream Pop filter and make it all sound all spacey, but I don't know, something about the combination makes me think of the Cranberries, especially on their ballads. Their ballads have that very like dark magic thing that the Cranberries always had.
Black magic? Brown magic?
Yeah, anyway, I just really liked it. Their upbeat numbers are very kind of summery and fun, and it has a ton of fans.
I'm excited to hear about it.
So you can go and check it out. What did you bring up?
All right. Well, I'm going to be over in Brighton, the UK,
Okay.
and the album is The Sleepwalk Transmissions. Now, do not think that you're going to be sleeping listening to this, because you will not, unless you're me and you sleep through crazy shit. The band is We Never Learned to Live, and the album came out on the 10th. It is an 11-track post-hardcore album. I was looking for reminds me of, like, bands that I could, like, name drop here.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any bands to name drop.
Just nothing.
I went to Pandora, or not Pandora. What is that? What it is? No. What's that thing I listen to music on?
Spotify?
Spotify. That's right. It used to be Pandora, but they suck.
Yeah,
They kept trying to make me listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that was gay.
Gross.
Anyways, yeah, I literally knew the names of none of the fucking bands that they like were trying to pitch to me in that list.
That's funny.
So apparently, I am just way, way out and too old for post-hardcore now.
Wow.
The Used, I guess, kind of kept coming to mind while listening to them, but that's a terrible indicator of what they really sound like.
Gotcha.
So, anyways, my favorite songs on the disc are Luma Non Luma, which is their featured track on Bandcamp, and
Nice.
Owari was pretty tight. The vocals managed to waffle between naked aggression and smoldering earnestness.
Ooh.
No complaints about the accent peeking through every now and again either, because, you know, they're UK people, and I like accents. Musically, it's a little more progressive than earlier generations of the style, but it does have plenty of funky timing bits and some great failures to resolve. I don't know if you know this about me. I hate resolution in music. I want everything to be constantly in a state of, Where were you going with that?
Okay.
I'm a bit of a terrorist in that regard. I don't ever want you to feel satisfied. I want you to like be ready to climax and then never quite get there.
Ah, good lord.
Yeah, I'm a prick tease musically. We'll just go with that.
Okay.
So, my one beef with the album is that while no single, like none of the tracks on it feel like filler. Mm-hmm. But the album felt long.
Gotcha.
And that may not be a product of the album itself being bad in any way. It's probably more a matter of I'm fucking old and I no longer have enough angst to sustain me through an entire album of...
So you're just like, yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah, by the end of it, I'm like,
kind
you know, I don't really
kinda
feel as
calming
angry
down
anymore.
now, you know, it's just...
I'm not quite in that same place.
That's funny.
But at any rate, so We Never Learned to Live's The Sleepwalk Transmissions. That's what I'm going for this week, Liz.
Awesome. I can dig it.
Right on. Hey, how's it going? Nikki P here. Want to support the show or just give a big middle finger to Patreon? Consider stopping over to supportsll.com. Members of the Freedom Choir get access to the private Facebook group and actual physical merch. Want access to the unedited raw interviews as they're recorded way before they're released? It's in there. Is that not enough? And you want membership to Freedom Song 365? It's in there. There's even monthly bonus swag for top tier supporters. So head on over to supportsll.com. Help Liz and I get to libertarian functions and even just cover the costs of making the show. If I'm not a good enough salesman, how about this?
Support my mom and dad and Sounds Like Liberty. Go to supportsll.com.
You heard her, folks. Join the Freedom Choir at supportsll.com. So, who do we got today, Liz? Do you remember?
Matt Bergman?
Do you remember Matt Bergman?
I do remember Matt
We had this interview a long time ago, folks. And if you were in the Freedom Choir at the second tier or above, you would have already heard this, like, what, 2 or 3 months ago when we were recorded with Matt? It was a lot of fun. I like hanging out with punk rock people. Especially punk rock people that are into real freedom and not a bunch of fucking commies.
Yeah, that's real punk rock right there.
Like being a commie?
No, not being a commie.
Feels like it.
Not being a commie.
Sure feels like it these days.
Unfortunately.
Anyways, so I had a blast with this. I'm super excited and stoked to finally be releasing it. And without further ado, we'll get to our interview with Matt Bergman of Punk Rock Libertarians. Chicken.
Hey.
That's, I heard somebody.
I heard a person.
Hello.
Hi.
Or do you hear
Hey.
us?
Yeah. How's it going?
It's going. Yeah, we're here. It's a thing. We're doing a thing.
She's way too chipper for like this time of night. But she had got woken up by my sister.
Yes, I did. I like your sister, so maybe that helped.
Okay. She's never like this when I wake her up, so you can take that as you will. So yeah, I've been getting inundated with people saying, "Hey, you need to have like the Punk Rock Libertarians guys on,"
Which makes sense.
Cool.
and I'm like,
Awesome.
"Well, which one?" Because they're all just a bunch of cishet white males that I can't tell apart.
Really? Really? Dang.
No, that's actually inaccurate because there's at least one that stands out of the bunch,
Okay.
and that's Kyle Wagner.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be honest, I've listened to you guys for probably about 2 years, but there was a brief hiatus in there where I just couldn't take him anymore, and I had to stop listening.
Oh, no.
Don't get me wrong, he seems like a really super nice guy. He does. But like some of his takes politically just...
Rub you the wrong way, perhaps?
Yeah, and I'm an opinionated
Yeah, like-
asshole myself, so...
Well, there
You guys like hardcore in the mimicry tip, you know?
I mean, dude, I don't even know that it's necessarily his politics bother me. I think it's his attitude about his politics that bother me. Like the whole Ayn Rand thing the other day, and he was going on and on about the virtue of selfishness and why it was a bad word choice. And I'm like, she sold a shit ton of books. It's the perfect word choice. And if you actually read the philosophy, like clearly you haven't because you don't understand what it said.
I'm actually not a fan of Rand myself.
I have feelings about Rand. I don't necessarily think that like she's an exceptional writer, perhaps. I think that some of her ideas connect in a way with people. I think that objectivism is kind of stupid. Like, I'm definitely not into that. But I also am surprised that she's not like the world's greatest feminist writer, because literally all of her books were just about a bunch of men trying to fuck some woman and like fighting over the ability to fuck that woman.
Well, maybe they don't consider that feminist enough. I don't know.
I guess like all men drool over her business acumen and her ability to be beautiful at the same time, and
Yeah.
she is all that is woman.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, me neither. Anyways, so welcome to the Sounds Like Liberty podcast, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm assuming that you've never heard our podcast before because we're not that big. But all my people tell me that I had to have
I feel like I've heard the name.
Okay, fair enough.
I know Tim Finnegan talks about it a lot, and he tags me constantly and shit when he's trying to get people on the show.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's pretty solid. But we talk to people. We talk to libertarians about music,
Yep.
and in particular the kind of music they like, because politics is kind of annoying, and I just want to have cool liberty talks with people about shit that's not liberty.
Or at least not politics.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who aren't aware of who Matt Bergman is and what you do?
So I'm 38 years old. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised. I still reside here with my wife and daughter. In 2010, I started Punk Rock Libertarians. I've played in a bunch of punk bands since like the early mid 90s. And so in 2010, I finally started Punk Rock Libertarians. Prior to that, I was just like Googling it every so often, because it just seemed to me that punk rock and libertarianism were kind of like peanut butter and jelly. It just seemed like to me like they went together. So I was waiting for somebody to do something. And then in, I think it was like actually late 2009, I started the group. And then in 2010, I started the Facebook page. And it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I was waiting for somebody else to start it. But then when nobody else started it, I just started it. And then from then on, I just kind of like stuck at it. And then the page was up to like 190,000 people before Zuckerberg took us down, along with like 550 other pages on the same day. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
How did you find your way to liberty? Was it the same way as everybody else that's not me, through Ron Paul, I take it?
No, I actually got into it before that. It was when I was a kid, I was always somebody who asked why. And as a kid, my parents were very conservative, fundamentalist Christian.
Oof.
And but they my dad did a good job of just telling me about the beginnings of the country, and the founders always seemed pretty cool to me. Can I curse on here? This is a podcast.
Oh yeah, go for it.
We're not on the radio waves.
Yeah, we're the least family-friendly family podcast ever.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I've dropped 2 F-bombs on the radio at this point.
Oh boy.
Actually, maybe more.
As a frame of reference, my daughter has definitely been in the room as I've been recording Wheeler Walker Jr. songs for Facebook. So
there you go.
So yeah. Oh shit. Anyways, I remember when I was a kid, I was big into the founders and the idea of freedom. And then I remember when I was this might be boring for people, but when I was 12 years old, I remember I had a teacher tell me. He told the whole class, freedom is this. You can sway your arms this way and that, and you're fine, and you have freedom until you hit somebody else. And that right there made immediate sense to me, and it kind of it clicked in my head, and that just kind of stuck with me. And you can just see how if that sticks with somebody, how somebody would find libertarianism eventually.
Oh, yeah.
that just made total sense to me. And then I guess around the time when I was 16. I read a Noam Chomsky book, Chomsky for Beginners. And what I got out of that book was I agreed with his diagnosis of the problem. I didn't necessarily agree with his anarcho-socialist solutions, but I didn't really, I just kind of got out of it what I wanted to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I just saw right then, I was yeah, there's really not much of a difference between the Democrat and Republican parties. They both kind of talk their game, but they kind of end up doing the same shit, and they're kind of anti-freedom. So right then I decided that I was not going to vote. And then a few years later, I think I was 20, and I was talking to my cousin about voting and stuff. And he told me about the Libertarian Party. So then, I researched that, and I was just well, these people believe what I believe. So if they're going to take the time to run, I'll take the time to vote for them. So, and then from there, actually, after I started the page, I really delved deep into the philosophy of libertarianism, and it really got more into that. And because and that's kind of the thing with punk rock libertarians. We're not really associated with the Libertarian Party. Being the founder, I would just say that it's more about the philosophy of libertarianism.
Cool.
I'm just about the social. Let's all party.
Well, if you have the philosophy as a foundation, then you can totally,
I just send
think
people to
more
Tom
about
Woods.
the partying.
I send people to Tom
aspect.
Woods for the philosophy.
Well, yes, and he's very good at that.
And-
That's how I got the philosophy.
And then I try and steal as many people from the Libertarian Party to the Mises Caucus as I can.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tom Woods. His podcast is probably the podcast that I've listened to the most religiously during my tenure of listening to the podcast. And I'm also a big fan of the Mises Caucus. I feel they're really filling a void that I feel was missing in the LP for some years now.
Michael Heiss was my first guest on the show. And I'm the guy in charge of Ohio for Mises, the Mises Caucus.
Oh, wow. We've actually got Phil Dassing. He's on our program, and I believe he's the guy who's in charge of the Mises Caucus in Maryland.
Nice.
So, and he's a regular on our podcast. He wasn't on there this past week, but he's on there most weeks.
Yeah. I think that part of my issue is there's too many of you guys, and they come and go. So trying to keep I'm good with voices and I learn them over time, but because they're constantly swapping out, I'm I think it. I know that your voice is the guy who runs things, and that's about as far as I can, because he's the guy he's the guy that opens everything up. I know that much.
Okay.
So. All right.
Well, yeah, there's definitely ways that we do our podcast, which probably aren't the best ways to do things. I can't name another podcast that has 5 people on every week, and I realize that's got to be confusing. I mean,
But
for what it's worth, some people like us. I enjoy doing it, but I mean, it's kind of like it's fun for me to like hang out with 5 people as opposed to just 1 or 2.
Well, and honestly, there's a degree to which you guys kind of inspired me because we have music running in the background of our entire show, including the interviews. And part of me was I always like the idea of feeling like you're eavesdropping on a conversation at a party. Was kind of the whole vibe that I wanted to give off. And there's a degree, I mean, like you're just a bunch of dudes hanging out talking shit. And you know, we've got guys like the Fadcast that have come out in the past year that are killing it. They're
Cool name.
They're the Friends Against Government.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to them, they're a Bird and Car are a riot, and they're also Twitter monsters.
That's an amazing name.
Yeah. But you got guys like that, and then the dudes over at Tasting Anarchy, they talk about fucking wine, which is I hate wine, but but it's hilarious listening to like people talk. It's just I guess the idea is like, what do we have to add to the philosophy that hasn't been fucking debated for the past 100 years? I would, you know, rather we can all get along. Because if there's one thing I do see we have a problem with in the libertarian community is oftentimes getting along.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, you know.
And
I mean, clearly you guys like Kyle Wagner because you continue to have him on.
you know, like I love Kyle Wagner, and I'll tell you what. There's a few reasons why Kyle Wagner's on there all the time. And then
he lives in your basement?
First being first. No. First being first, okay. I would be like so fucking bored if everybody on the podcast agreed with me 100% of the time.
Okay.
And it's you know, so I feel like with Kyle, there's always going to be a conversation. You know what I mean? Not that there isn't a conversation with other people, but there's a conversation. And then here's number 2 is, I mean, dude, I've spent a lot of time with Kyle. I think he's an awesome dude. He's fun to be around. And then number 3 also, it's people actually love Kyle Wagner. People want Kyle Wagner on. He's just like he's believe it or not, he's a favorite of the show.
He drives the tension without question. Like you're not wrong. Like I mean, the conversation definitely moves quicker with Kyle just because it has to. Like invariably, he's gonna say something. Someone's just gonna be like, "Really, Kyle?"
Well, like I know Jared and I, Jared's kind of like been my number one mainstay since the beginning. Jared and I, we think very similar when it comes to a lot of things, and we both kind of get tired if we get into that anarchy versus minarchy conversation because we've had it so many times with Kyle, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So you know, we try to steer it out of that when that comes. But you know, overall, I mean, we have a lot of fun. It's you know, everybody enjoys being on with Kyle. You know, I've got people that come on the podcast. Actually, Dave Gregg, he's got a total man crush on Kyle. Like, it seems like every other time I have him on, he's like, "Will Kyle be there?"
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I guess it's for me. The thing is because I always like him on the show. I've had my issues with him like in Facebook groups because he's just so good at instigating.
Oh yeah, he's really great at arguing too. I mean, he's you know, not that I agree with him all the time.
He stonewalls are really good. I know that much.
Oh yeah, he does it to everybody. You know,
like I'm right here, and you're just not letting me be right. You keep going back to the same thing you used to go back to.
But you know, one thing about Kyle too, you know, he did used to identify as an anarcho-capitalist once upon a time. So it's not like he's a stranger to any argument that anybody's picked up, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like he went through those arguments in his head and anarcho-capitalism just did not win for him. So, you know, that's his thing. You know, I look at it like we're like right here, right? We're in like tyranny, right? And absolute tyranny is over here. And then maybe like ANCAP land is over here, right? But Kyle Wagner wants to go in that same direction, right? He just wants to stop sooner. So until the Liberty Bang Bus, until we get to where Kyle wants to jump off. I mean, we should all be getting along and having fun and helping each other out.
I'm just saying you should watch his back because somebody will probably throw him off sooner. But
what?
Nah.
Oh my god! All right, well, let's move on to some music for the logo.
We've done enough shit talking for the day. Well, and we've talked politics probably for far too long. So let's talk about music.
Okay.
I mean, you're the guy behind Punk Rock Libertarians, so I feel like I shouldn't have to dig too deep for like what your musical tastes are. But
You
maybe
never
you'll
know.
surprise me and you
Punk
love
rock, yeah.
Enya.
Yep. What do you want to hear? Like favorite bands, stuff
Well,
like
I mean,
that?
it's just what kind of music? What's your normal musical like taste like? Is it just punk
Yeah.
rock?
No, well, I mean, like I've got a huge music collection, everything from like old cassette tapes to like 1,000 CDs.
Do you go in for new cassette tapes?
I would, if a band I liked was putting out a new cassette tape, I'd probably buy it, even though I do not have a working cassette player anymore. I kind of want to get one, which is why I still kept my tapes. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm a tad bit of a pack rack / collector, you know?
Yeah.
But I've also got my wife and I. We probably got like 800 records or something, or probably 1,000 records. So we got a lot of vinyl. And then
Nice.
my musical taste is generally about like 90% punk rock. But you know, I've got a lot of albums, so that other 10% is a lot of other stuff. Everything from like classic country to you know, some hip hop here and there, and then some indie rock. I mean, just like really a little bit of. I don't want to say I listen to everything because I think that's cheesy, and I definitely don't. There's things I don't like, you know. But yeah, probably about 90% punk rock.
Well, what
Okay.
kind of punk rock then is the next question?
Well, my number one favorite band of all time is a band called J Church, and you're probably like, "Fuck you! I've never heard of J Church."
I've heard of J
Nobody
Church.
has. It's okay.
I
Okay.
I think I've listened to J Church.
Well,
but-
dude, that makes you cool if you've heard of J Church. I mean, I just love J Church. So to give you an idea, like with J Church, they put out like a shit ton of albums, like
Mhm.
57 inches. It's just the stuff that they put out. Like Lance Hahn was just super prolific.
Yeah.
And my old band actually got a chance to open up for J Church in like I believe it was like 2003, and I'm a huge fan of that band. And then number two would probably be Jawbreaker, and then
Really?
yeah, Jawbreaker I love, and then Jets to Brazil I love probably about equally.
Mhm.
You know, it was you know, I guess like, you know, musically, when the first time I heard Jets to Brazil, I wasn't really like blown away. It was
Yeah.
kind of like my love for Blake Schwarzenbach and Jawbreaker that just kept me listening, and I just got really into it along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like everything that Blake Schwarzenbach's ever done. And then probably Leatherface would be number three.
Nice.
There you go.
So yeah, but
My wife's
But
over here
then-
like, I
so
don't
I-
know what the fuck he's talking about.
I'm just gonna
Well,
look them
about-
up later, and then I'll enjoy the journey.
or what about like Minor Threat?
It's just Minor Threat.
Yeah. So I mean, they would probably be one of my like biggest musical influences of all time.
In
That,
fairness,
you know,
I think the closest thing
today.
my wife would have had to this would have been Showbread or
I do.
Five Iron Frenzy.
Okay, I see.
I remember Five Iron Frenzy. That was weren't they like a Christian ska band?
Yes, I was. That's where I was
And the-
coming
and
from.
the super, yeah, she was
It was
raised.
the only stuff I could
she was
find,
in
really.
a homeschooled ultra Baptist home when she was younger.
No, well, yeah, that was where I came from. I actually went to a Baptist school through 10th grade.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Well, then you
I
know
don't
where I'm coming from. There you go.
I mean, it was fun when I was there. I mean, you know, I kicked and screamed and fought to get out, and then I spent my last 2 years of high school in public school.
Yeah.
But you know, looking back, I had much more fun getting into trouble in private school.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now, one of my questions I'll ask. I since I have you on here, I have to ask this. So how do you end up? Because me and Liz always ask the question amongst ourselves. Like you said earlier, peanut butter and jelly. Like you'd think that anyone in a punk rock scene would be fucking libertarian or anarchist. Like because
Something.
the whole DIY, DIY for me, it's.
Maybe not anyone, dude, because I mean, there are a lot of like, if you're in the punk rock scene, you know, there are a lot of like
Posers.
radical lefties. Yeah.
Well, no, but that's my point. So like for me, the whole thing is like punk rock is DIY. It's fuck authority. Like, and those two things married together, that's what we call ANCAP. Like, go out, like
right.
make your own money, make your own commerce. Fuck everybody who doesn't want to be involved.
Well, yeah, with like punk rock
That's not how it
libertarians.
works out.
Yeah, with punk rock libertarians, the slogan that I came up with early on after starting it was "Libertarian is DIY,"
Yeah.
and then like a ton of people agreed with that. It's just, I got so many messages from people who were punk rockers, and they're like, "Yes," they were just thinking like me. They were like, there's actually a dude, Ed Dawson. He's on our page. He's still in the group, but the page is gone. but he's still in our group, and he actually used to write for Flipside Fanzine.
Really?
He's like a hardcore libertarian. Yeah.
Well, and I know that obviously they're out there because I ended up finding my way where I did. It's just always been a thing to me that it felt like there weren't more of us out there. Like the idea that you have like quote unquote punk rockers out there shilling for Democrats and like the whole. It was always frustrating to me. It didn't seem to make any sense. It's like, so why? But I'm always curious how people find their way out of that whole scene. I mean, I know like, when I remember playing punk shows back in the day, like it was all super, super communist, like Che Guevara t-shirts everywhere. And yeah.
Gee.
Yeah. The dude that executed homosexuals. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
like,
figure that
let's
out.
celebrate that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
So, obviously you got a wife and a kid and you got the podcast. So how does music fit into your life? Do you have any time for it anymore? Do you make the time for it?
Well, I guess back in May, I was actually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And then the last like 6 months of playing in my band 10 Watch, I noticed like for band practices and shows, I would just get these like headaches that were different from any other headache that I'd ever experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was diagnosed, I was just like, oh, well, I guess this means, MS doesn't get along with loud music. So since then, I've actually quit doing live music.
Mm-hmm.
So not doing that anymore, but, I am open to maybe trying it again sometime if I can get to where I can manage things, maybe just using ear protection, which I've always hated, but maybe that'd be something I'd have to do. But it's honestly, it's not the biggest priority for me right now. Number one is spending quality time with my family. And then number two is like punk rock libertarians has kind of been, it kind of like, somewhere along the line, I just got more interested in doing that stuff than I did music. Not that I still don't like doing music, but it's kind of like,
You
if
only
I
have,
only
you only
had
have so
time
much
for
time.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
So-
for me, like I don't do a lot of original music. I play like cover band music because I get paid to do it. But essentially, at a certain point, like if I'm not going to be hanging out with my wife and daughter, I better be getting paid to do whatever the hell it is I'm doing. And I get to justify the
there's something
podcast
to that.
by doing it with my wife. So
Well, there you go.
yeah, because I wanted to do this. The cheat was just make her do it with me.
It's worked out so far.
Yeah. So, all right. Tell you, do you have any like cool, any like important memories that are kind of jammed in there with a specific song or type of music?
Well, I guess the first music that I got into when I was a little whippersnapper was like, classic country, like Johnny Cash, Hank Williams Sr., old George Jones. And, I really, when you talk about my childhood, I mean, it's all that stuff. And I love that stuff. It's just kind of honest. If with punk too, you really can't even say it's you can't really pinpoint it to like a specific style of music because there are so many different artists that identify as punk. You kind of say Johnny Cash had a punk rock attitude.
Black Flag and the Bouncing Souls are not the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, like I've never really gotten into Black Flag.
It's not my thing either. I prefer the Bouncing Souls personally, but
I like
came up on 90s
some of
skate
their
punk, so.
stuff. I was actually wearing a Bouncing Souls shirt earlier. Like, but yeah, like Maniacal Laughter. I think that's really like the perfect punk rock album from beginning to end. It's just short, fast, to the point. Just everything's great on that record.
Nice. Yeah, I think I kind of got into punk rock because they liked Plaid a lot. Like I definitely started with ska and kind of worked my way in further.
Yeah, like ska. I'm pretty huge into some Les and Jake stuff, like the stuff they put out in the '90s, the first few records, and then I like some Ballstone stuff, of course, and then Operation Ivy.
I kind of prefer the Tang Records stuff by the Bosstones, though. Like, I don't dislike any of their material, but like ska core, The Devil and More, and Devil's Night
That's a good
Out and
record.
shit like that. That was the shit.
Those are good. I actually like Question and Answers a lot, though, too.
That's good too. Yeah, no, like I said, I don't have anything I dislike, but I don't know. I think I like when they got heavier than, because eventually they kind of gave up on the heavy and just went way more to the second wave ska sound.
Yeah, definitely trying to, you're getting older, trying to make a little bit of green, nothing wrong with that.
No, definitely not. Unless you're Green Day, in which case,
Ugh.
But that's another story. Okay, so what do you think, Liz?
Well, live music experiences.
Oh, that's good. So what's the best concert you've ever been to?
Okay, so number one favorite concert is a band that actually is pretty libertarian, DI.
Okay.
Have you heard DI?
I've heard DI. It's not a band I've listened to a lot, though.
Well, they actually have a song called Guns, and it's like, I like guns, guns like me. I like guns. They made America free. So, I mean, it's like totally like Second Amendment worship, and it came out in like 1983 or 1985. And then DI was actually in, I would say, the quintessential punk rock movie was Suburbia, which came out in 1983.
Well, I've definitely know DI.
Yeah. So, Penelope Spheris directed that. She was like the same chick that directed Wayne's World.
Oh,
But yeah, I caught DI at the Old Otter Bar in Baltimore somewhere around I think like 2001. And it was just a super small venue. It was the punk rock venue in Baltimore. And I made it into the show. It was totally sold out. And like every 3 seconds, somebody was getting thrown on top of my head, and DI was just like fucking crazy. So that would be my number one favorite show. Followed by number two would probably be the New Bomb Turks at the Old Otter Bar.
Ooh, I would have loved to have seen them.
Yeah, I think I caught them in like 98 or 99. And I believe it was on like a Thursday night. And it wasn't too crowded, but I remember that the singer was like grabbing me by my hair and singing in my face because I was up front. Mm-hmm. And then the guitar player from the Candy Snatchers was there, and he was so drunk that he just like walked up on the stage, which was only like a foot off the ground, and just like took a piss on the stage.
Nice.
Like in the middle of the show,
That's punk rock for you.
There's no arguing with that.
And it's like in Baltimore at the Otter Bar, it wouldn't be uncommon to see John Waters in there every now and then.
But just for the record, that was the next question I was going to ask. What's your relationship to John Waters?
It's, I've been at a few places, the Otter Bar a few times, and I've seen him there. And then there was another club. I forget the name of it. I want to say Rendezvous, but maybe it wasn't the Rendezvous, but maybe it was. And I believe I've seen him in there before too. So and it's kind of weird to like, look over 10 feet and there's John Waters having a drink, socializing.
He's one of those people I always wanted to meet just because he seems like he's such an interesting guy.
Yeah, he seems like a fun dude. Now, to be honest, though, I've never really gotten into any of his movies. I've kind of seen some of them.
Which ones have you seen?
Who's the black tranny? Who died?
RuPaul.
That was his friend.
No,
it was his friend. It was like Divine, I believe. It was her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know you're talking the early stuff. Because honestly, like when he stopped doing like my favorite stuff is like when he kind of got mainstream, like Serial Mom or A Dirty Shame is literally one of my favorite movies, and I think
didn't he also?
And it stars like Chris Isaac and fucking like was it Chris Isaac's in it?
What's her name? Gosh, why can't I think of her name?
Johnny Knoxville. Like there's it's the most insane movie ever.
It's ridiculous.
Hello?
Yep, you there?
Yeah, sorry.
So you're talking like Pink Flamingos, like that?
Yeah,
kind of
Pink
stuff?
Flamingos kind of stuff. I've never actually watched Pink Flamingos.
Oh, the Johnny Depp movie, wasn't that Crybaby?
Crybaby. Oh God, I love Crybaby.
Yeah.
Crybaby's funny.
It's ridiculous. That's what I love about it.
I grew up in a rockabilly house. Like my dad's way into the Stray Cats and stuff, and so that was kind of always
the Stray Cats.
That was always a way to kind of connect with my old man. He's really into the roots rock and roll stuff.
Yeah, I like that too. Like I'm a huge fan of Chuck Berry. Like that original rock and roll. It's kind of like I've always kind of thought that punk rock was like a revival of that.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's just the same stuff with distortion on it half the time.
Well, yeah, it's a revival turned up to 11. Well,
I mean, I could kind of get into like the Riverdales and shit like that, and like that stuff was all just essentially the old Beach Boys tunes kind of reworked half the time.
Yeah, or like the Queers.
Yeah. Liz is like, what are all these bands? They all sound terrible.
No, they sound like punk bands. I mean, I'm usually pretty into this stuff. I just like don't usually fall into that genre for whatever reason when I'm looking for music.
Yeah. So, all right. The big question we always ask to guests is, well, this is the most concise interview I think we've ever had.
I know, it's going. It's going
Yeah.
good. I'm okay
I
with it.
mean, it's less editing for me. Because usually I've got to try and figure out what part of 3 hours of material I'm going to squeeze into the hour of episode that's dedicated to interview.
Right on.
Because
Frickin' pro.
Johnny Rocket doesn't want them that long.
Well, who can blame him?
I mean, I could blame him. It's not going to do me any
Not gonna
good.
do you any good.
So, if you had 5 albums to recommend people go out and listen to, what would they be and why?
Okay, so number one favorite album of all time, and I'm just going to go with my favorite records.
Sure.
But number one favorite album of all time is J Church Prophylaxis. Just like all the way through, I love it. I've listened to it the most. I fell asleep to it the most. Like I'll put it on before I go to bed. So and then I don't know. I want to go to like different bands now because there's a couple other J Church albums that might fall in there, so I don't want to do that.
So
And
you
then-
all just need to be the biggest J Church fans ever.
Apparently.
So-
That's okay.
Join the cult.
it's a lot of people haven't heard J Church, so it's and I feel like people should. I feel like they're hugely underrated or underknown.
I think they're going to listen to that first
and
record
number
and
two-
become fans and then just go down the rabbit hole.
I mean that would be cool. I mean, I think more people should listen to Lance On. And okay, number 2 would probably be Jawbreaker's 24-Hour Revenge Therapy, because that's probably my favorite Jawbreaker record. It's so hard to choose with Jawbreaker records because to be honest, like there's been points in my life where I consider every one of their albums to be my favorite at a different time. Because I don't think they put out anything that wasn't spectacular. Okay, so like Minor Threat, you can just pick up their complete discography, which is like 26, 27 songs or something. But more specifically, I like that first Minor Threat record, the self-titled, is
Okay.
probably my favorite of the Minor Threat stuff. But Out of Step's great too. So pick up the complete discography on CD, or download or whatever people do these days.
Okay.
And then after that, probably, with Leatherface, I would say my favorite album of theirs is actually their last one, which is called The Stormy Petrel, which is kind of a bold statement to say that their last album is their best because everybody likes Mush from 1991. And Mush is a pretty fucking amazing album. And it's pretty mind blowing to listen to Mush and think that came out the same year as Nirvana's Nevermind.
Wow.
And then it's even more mind blowing to know that some people said that was the album of the year back in 91 over Nirvana's Nevermind. So yeah.
91 was
yeah,
a really weird year in music.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, one thing too, I gotta give Nirvana a lot of props. Now, I'm not gonna recommend Nevermind, even though that's what kind of got me into rock music, or totally got me into rock music, actually. But just because everybody already knows about Nevermind, so I'm not gonna recommend that. But so I don't know. And then like a fifth album, I'm going to say off the top of my head, first thing that came up was actually Desaparecidos. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't heard of that actually.
Okay, so Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes.
Okay.
Just scratch out everything you know about Bright Eyes and listen to Desaparecidos' first record. That came out in like 2003. It's called Read Music, Speak Spanish. And it's kind of like Minor Threat meets Weezer.
Nice.
Like
That sounds
it's like
interesting.
it's like the early Weezer with screaming and like raw production. Like I just love that album. I remember when it came out, I was listening to it like every day for like 2 years straight, just because it was that good.
Sounds amazing.
And they didn't put out like another record until like 13 years after that, and that was okay. I couldn't say anything bad about it. It just didn't blow my mind the way that first album did.
I mean, judging on that timeline, Connor was kind of busy with other things in that time period. So.
Oh yeah. He was making a name for himself with Bright Eyes, and then for whatever reason, he actually decided to revisit Desaparecidos 13 years later. I believe that's about what it was.
Well,
But,
I mean, it's a lot of so much of the stuff. The way that goes is like you go out, you make your money and the thing that people will pay for, and then you go back to the shit that
The
you're
thing
actually
you like.
happy playing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think he is into the folk stuff because that's what he was doing first. I just feel like he has a love for some punk rock too.
Who's that one? That Frank Turner, is that guy from over in England, who has like a fairly hardcore punk record. Like,
He also identifies as libertarian.
yeah, I've read that. I could put him to the purity test and be like, you have not measured up, son. But
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll get Kyle Wagner to put him to the purity test.
no, he's probably way further along than Kyle is at this point.
oh jeez.
Some of the
No,
shit I've
but,
heard Kyle advocate for, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I've got some friends that are huge into Frank Turner, and I've heard his stuff. It's just never quite done it for me.
And no, it doesn't do it for me. The only reason I really know about the Mongol Horde album is because I one of the projects that me and a couple of my friends do is the Freedom Song 365, where we send out a new song every day, and that has like a libertarian theme or a message in it. And one of the ones that came up was how the communists ruined Christmas.
Oh,
And so, which is a pretty fun song. And so while I was researching kind of like background facts about the song, I'm like, who the fuck is Frank Turner I keep hearing about? And then like, I couldn't figure out why his name kept coming up as this folk artist when I'm trying to figure out about this fucking like song by this hardcore band over in England.
Okay, is there any way I can recommend a couple more albums?
You can recommend
please.
whatever you want.
Okay. So, another one. This band has like the stupidest fucking name ever, but you got to trust me, or just look it up on YouTube. They're called the Wingnut Dishwashers Union, and the album is called Burn the Earth.
okay.
And
I'm not gonna argue. That is the dumbest fucking name ever.
Band. It's a folk punk band, dude. But this guy is like just such a great songwriter. I would definitely check that out. It's great all the way through. It's just another one of those like mind-blowing records where I just heard it and my mind was blown. So I'd recommend them. And then I'd like to plug a couple of projects of mine. I was in a band called 10 Watch for some years. And then if you go on YouTube and you type in 10 Watch full album, you can actually listen to both of our full lengths on there if you want to check those out. Also, I did a band called Post Freedom for a few years. And we were, it was just a libertarian, a punk band with libertarian lyrics. All the songs were, just that.
Did you guys actually play shows out at all?
Oh, yeah. We played a lot of shows.
How was that experience? I'm just curious. Were you welcomed by the community? Do you kind of get some pushback? So I know I hear about like, what's her name? So I was like, because there were a couple sort of libertarianish or right-leaning punk bands back in the 80s, and they were not received well, to say the least.
Well, like when I was playing shows, I wasn't really getting on stage and I wasn't preaching.
Okay.
Because I've never been a fan of preaching. When I go to see, I go to see some bands where I like their music, and if I just hear a lot of preaching, I just get annoyed. So I'm more of a fan of rocking.
How about your thoughts on what's his name there? Henry Rollins.
Oh,
then.
Henry Rollins. He does a lot of talking.
He does a lot of talking.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Rollins, a lot of times I don't agree with him, when he's talking about like guns are for pussies or whatever. And it's like, okay, Henry Rollins, your muscles are super big. But, what about somebody who's weak and they're being bullied by somebody who's big? They used to say in the Wild West, God created man, but Sam Colt made him equal. So, and Henry Rollins, to tell a woman who defended herself from a rape with a firearm, tell her that guns are for bitches,
Well, I mean, in his defense, they do have pussies. So, I mean, that could have been what he was saying. Guns are for women, and
Maybe.
Matt Bergman.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to defend myself with a gun. It's not really my thing, but I support anyone's right to want who wants them.
Sure.
And if they want to have mini nukes, then have at those too.
I don't know about that one.
No, I'm all about it. They're so prohibitively expensive cost-wise, nobody would have them.
Okay.
No one is going to be having nuclear reactors in their home because they're too fucking expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can try and rearrange society. Like literally, the whole thing with those is that unless you have an endless supply of money by something like the Federal Reserve, there's no way to arrange resources that's a use of anyone's resources they want to spend them on.
So you're telling me Ant-Man is not a documentary? We can't make that happen?
Oh, well, no, that is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Sorry, we get sidetracked sometimes there, boss.
Oh, it's all good.
Continue on. I'm liking, I got homework. I like homework.
Okay, so as far as Post Freedom goes, if you go to, I believe it's postfreedom.bandcamp.com, you can actually download our entire record for free. It's 14 songs.
Why do I want to download it for free? Why not give money to people?
Well, I mean, you can contribute money on there, and then it's like if I ever get enough money sometime, I might press a record. But I mean, you could just download it for free, and I would be happy with that. I would rather people listen to it more than anything because I made the music and I want it to be heard.
Here's a question: how much of this stuff? Do you have any of this stuff up on Spotify?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, you should get a DistroKid account and then put it all up on Spotify. You can probably do that for like $50. Because I want to put it all in my my soundtrack for the show.
Oh, I see. You've got an ulterior motive.
Yeah, of course I have an ulterior motive. I like to have more music by artists I give a shit to promote in the soundtrack.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're welcome. There's actually a song on the Post Freedom album called IP is BS. So, I mean, you can do anything with our songs. I would just ask that you gave us credit so people could, research it and download them for themselves.
Oh, no, for sure. Bandcamp's the shit.
Yeah, we will definitely be getting all the links in the show notes so that people can find all the things.
Yeah.
Badass.
Because, I mean, I proselytize the shit out of all my bands whenever I can.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I just wrote a song for the Lions of Liberty, Brian McWilliams. I wrote the ballad for his Do Nothing Man cartoon.
Oh.
So...
All right.
How many episodes have you guys done?
We're
okay. I mean, that's a complicated answer. Before or after we joined a network? I started.
We
at
started
zero.
counting again.
I think we've done probably about 100 episodes so far.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
We've done one a week since we joined the network. Before that, sometimes we'd do 3 a week.
Yeah.
So we've been at it for a little over a year now.
All right. Are there any other things that we should plug while we've got you here on the line?
I was gonna say I think he disappeared there.
Oh no!
I've never lost somebody on Zoom.
I know. Sad face.
What is a sad face? I'm sure I'll be back.
If you just
Oh, hey! Almost for a second.
Whoa! You there?
Hello.
Yep, I'm here.
I'm sorry,
cool.
that was really weird. I mean, just for the record, I've never lost anybody on Zoom, so
That was
I'm
first.
It's probably the government, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's definitely the government.
They're like, oh man,
I'm gonna be honest. Like,
gotta stop this awesomeness.
in the Freedom Song 365, I definitely look over my shoulder as I'm typing. I'm like, they're totally logging my keystrokes, and I'm waiting for them to come through the door at any minute.
We're on too many lists.
Look, I too have bought Chomsky books, so I know I'm on lists.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, what I was
I
getting
need
at.
the book, actually. A friend let me borrow it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, lucky you. Yeah, no, Amazon knows all about my tastes. They see the Chomsky and the Pinker. I think the Pinker throws him off the trail, though. He's one of the most frustrating people in the world to fucking read, for the record. Have you read any like his 2 recent books? Like the
No, like honestly, I don't read a lot of books.
yeah, Pinker is super frustrating.
Like, no books.
Like he's very similar to Chomsky, which is funny because they're both fucking linguists by trade. But his most recent book, literally, the entire thing is a defense of capitalism, and like he'll sit there and lay out all the ways. I think he's like trying to steel man. And then instead of like attacking the steelman arguments, he just arbitrarily decides that, but we still need to have people in charge because we just need to. wait, you just wrote an entire book, like an entire chapter on how like capitalism has saved the planet, like, and the more of it we have, the better off the world seems to be. But we can't let it run wild because we just can't. That's what you're gonna give me.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically, all these people that they're like, I guess, you call them minarchists. Their argument is, don't let government do the unimportant things because they'll fuck them up. But we have to trust them with the really important things, which, how are they going to do that?
Wait, they can't dole out welfare properly, but we're going to give them, all of them guns? Like, why the fuck would we do that?
Right? Yeah.
You guys were actually talking about another person. Like, I watched him for like 2 years, and then I just eventually get super frustrated. And Tim Pool was the same fucking way. Like Tim Pool, he's super weird because he hangs out with some ANCAP types. Like him and Luke Rakowski kind of pal around, and Luke's actually pretty good on most stuff. And Tim will just like, oh yeah, but I mean, I know that this is all good and we can't do all this stuff that the left agrees with, but I'm of the left, and I just think we need to have a referee in the game. Like, he's still like, I'm like, there's no way that you can be friends with the people you're friends with and still fucking believe the shit that you believe. Like, you're a bad actor. You've got to be.
Actually, I don't think I ever heard Tim Pool until I heard him on the Rogan podcast last week.
Yeah, I've heard there's a lot of people saying that. I followed him for a couple years because generally he'll give you a pretty even take on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And like I could look past his shilling for the left because like he generally is still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was okay on there. He wasn't like the second coming of Christ, but
yeah.
He is decent.
Right on.
Luke Rakowski would be way more fun on there.
Oh God.
From We Are Change. Whew.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really heard him say much politically. I feel like he's more of a diagnoser of the problem. Like I've never heard him say anything ANCAP.
Oh, Luke.
Yeah,
you got to watch some of like I don't know that he would necessarily even identify that way, but I've kind of filled in some of the blanks by some of the stuff that Tim has said and stuff that I've seen him do, like Luke do, that I'm pretty sure I know where he falls on the spectrum. I could frankly be wrong because he doesn't talk about it much. There's also a degree to which the stuff that he does cover, I think, tends to fall in line with things that those kind of people would cover.
I believe 1 year at PorcFest I saw him wearing like an American flag jacket, so I didn't take it that he was an ANCAP when I saw that. Maybe it was somebody else's jacket and he was cold. I don't know.
Or he could just be doing it ironically.
I have no idea. It's like I've seen a lot of his videos. He just seems to me to be like of that like Alex Jones persuasion.
He definitely goes that way.
And then it also seems like he jumps to conclusions off of things to get clicks. And I don't know. Too. That's just my take.
His news stuff I think is better than like his. I don't know. I like him better on the ground than I do when he's doing the newsroom stuff for sure. Because that does get pretty Alex Jonesy pretty quick. But I mean, Alex Jones did give me the greatest piece of internet time ever when he was on Rogan.
I would
most
agree.
Recent time. That maybe
that's my favorite podcast ever. I've listened to it twice.
Like I don't even
totally
listen.
Entertaining.
I don't even listen to Rogan anymore. I gave up because I don't like him anymore either. But good God, just from the beginning, that entire thing was just the most beautiful train wreck I've ever seen in my life. When he's trying to get what's his name to put him in a headlock, I was dying.
Oh, dude, when he was talking about sending Eddie Bravo to the ice wall.
Yes, he's like, and Eddie is like, well, I don't have the time to go, so I'll send somebody. And he's like, no, the point is I want to send you.
That's like honestly, that's like one of my hobbies recently is like flat Earth stuff. It's just so entertaining.
It's too fucking many. Of them.
Well, yeah, it's so entertaining, and then the way the globetards get triggered by it too. So, and I just sounded like a flat earther saying that, but I'm just saying they're just people that just get like entirely too pissed about it. I feel like just like calm the fuck down.
My position on it has always been that I frankly I like their instinct. The fact of the matter is we do take a whole lot of shit and a whole lot of history just on on spec. Like, hey, there's somebody who says this is the truth, and we just blindly kind of take a lot of that. Because that's how society fucking works. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know that we necessarily need to undo 600 years of science, but
I mean, science.
It's a good instinct.
Science undoes itself all the time, though.
Well,
dude.
No, that's true.
Well, but that's exactly it. Like,
didn't they just say recently that the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere? Isn't that something that just came out recently?
Yeah, I heard that.
Science changes, dude. And I like that. It's like that South Park episode where in the future they eradicate religion, but everybody's got their own science, and all the wars are fought over different sciences because my science is better than your science. And what that episode was saying to me was that science in itself is its own religion. And I know people.
Oh no, it is militant atheists.
Owner for science this, science that. But dude, the science always changes. It's not like it's this sacred text.
What is that? I always say like I use physics as my example, but it's like. You can use the Bible to explain how the world around you works, or you can use physics. And at the end of the day, neither of those is the thing it represents. So no matter how good your equation is to describe the movement of whatever the fuck you want to describe, it's never actually that thing. It's always just the concept. Much the same way, like you can say that the story of God or whatever story in the Bible explains this is how this works and that's why it happens. It's not any more like real than what neither one is any more real. Like all of the evidence you have, they both there is faith in both of them that you have to have. Like
there is a lot of faith in science.
Yeah. So, but that's just because I'm one of those weird. I consider myself an atheist, but I fucking hate militant atheists worse than I hate Christians.
Well, I mean,
I like to call them evangelical atheists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend in college, and he's one of my best friends. But dude, he could get so triggered, so quick. Like I'm glad that word exists now because I never had a word to describe what would happen to him.
Yeah.
It just sucks though because if you use it, people assume you're MAGA.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like snowflake is such a fun word too, but if you use it, people assume you're MAGA. So it's like I can't even use those words.
They have a really difficult time trying to pin that on me. Because, you know.
You are who you are.
Well, I mean, I'm a bisexual dude married to a black woman, so I really love when they try and fucking call me MAGA.
Yeah.
It's like
No, that's great, dude. You've got two cards, dude.
I know for real. And
See, that's why I've got Jared on the podcast. He's my Jew card.
Oh, there you go. You got to have
so
something.
he's everywhere I want to be.
yeah, no, it's
Oh my god. Okay.
So yeah. Anyways, anything you want to plug before we call it a night for you, man?
I think I plugged all the holes.
Okay, sweet.
There's always a few more holes that need plugged. I'm just saying.
Word.
Oh god.
Invite a few more people over if you need to. So, anyways, man, hey, I really appreciate you coming on, especially in like such short notice.
It was super awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and I've got some of my listeners are probably gonna be real fucking stoked.
I mean, I'm gonna be stoked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to
I
these
had
bands.
a blast. Thanks for having me on, and I'd love to come on again sometime.
Yeah,
if you have an open spot, hit me up.
Oh, absolutely will, man. I appreciate it.
Feel the heat on his breath before you say his mouth.